All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in our first game. This hand is a little on the weak side, but turn 2 Copter is really strong. We have a Needle Spire to help make it so that we are less likely to flood out, even though we have kind of a mana-heavy hand. We do have perfect mana, so, by turn 3, there's a good, because we're on the draw, we're going to get 3 draw steps to draw a creature that we can play to activate this Smuggler's Copter on turn 3, and all of a sudden it will turn into a very good hand. So while this hand isn't great, I'm going to keep it, and I think it's going to end up being fine. So we're going to need a little help from the top of our deck, but we really don't need that much help. We just need any creature on the first 3 turns. Do not want to see that. Another land certainly doesn't do us much good. And being against a fairly aggressive red deck, this is certainly a situation where we can get punished for this keep. Alright, definitely needed that. I could play the Veteran Motorist just to block, but really what I want to do is I want to start discarding some of these lands. And I want to make sure that I get a chance to do so. Ooh, that's good. Alright, so here's my first real decision point of the game. I guess it's not really a decision. So I'm going to be keeping my my Smuggler's Copter on defense. Let's see. Oh man, that's tough. So normally a card like Gideon would be pretty good in this matchup. So long as I can play it without being too low on life and my opponent doesn't have too many things that can run it over. I think Gideon is one of my good ways to win this game, and I think with my life total still being at 18, I think my opponent's probably going to have to kill the first Gideon that I play. So I think having another one in reserve is going to work out well. And so what's particularly nice about this is my opponent has access to removal that will deal 3 points of damage, but he does not have access to very many cards that... Oh, actually, he might have Unlicensed Disintegration, which would be really bad for me. Alright, so if I go to activate my Smuggler's Copter, I may end up losing it to a Unlicensed Disintegration, which would be a pretty big blowout. If I block with my Veteran Motorist, there's a good chance that my opponent won't have as much as he wants to do with his mana this turn. I could just block this Bomat Courier. I think I'll do that. So, yeah. There's a chance that my opponent would just have nothing to kill my Smuggler's Copter, but... I don't really want to take that risk right now. I can essentially strand the removal in his hand, because if he uses it pre-combat, I can activate my Copter. And is this Galvanic Bombardment? That's pretty annoying. So my opponent did have removal. It was an unlicensed disintegration. That is certainly a little unfortunate for me. My opponent can kill the Gideon, and this certainly makes me a little happier that I kept the second Gideon. See if my opponent goes for me or the Planeswalker. Oh, and a 1-drop here is actually a great draw. Really good draw. And my opponent does have access to some card advantage in the form of this Bomat Courier. Ooh, that's good. And so I believe he's going to get 2 redraws. And now with 1 top deck, he's got access to 3 cards. Pretty fair amount. So because I have this Gideon to keep playing creatures, I think I'm going to continue choosing to not activate my Copter. So if my opponent only attacks with a Thopter, then obviously I'll activate my Copter. And there's a good chance my opponent has a removal spell for it, but you know, that's just sort of the way it's going to go. And it looks like my opponent is looking to just pump his Thopter and trade, which is kind of fine with me because I still get a loot. It's actually pretty good. Ooh, Depala. And I think I actually want to just start getting aggressive. I've got this Stasis Snare. I don't, you know, with my opponent having haste creatures and fiery temper and things like Pia Nalaar, it can be a little tricky for me to weather a very long storm. Also, I assume my opponent has cards like Scrap Heap Scrounger in his deck, which can be pretty annoying. 4 mana, what's this? Ooh, that's a sweet card. It's probably going to be a good target for Stasis Snare. Big 4/4 body like that needs to go. And here I can just put on way more pressure than I think my opponent can reasonably answer. I don't think there's any way my opponent can crack back and actually deal 12 damage to me. So my opponent's going to go for his 1 available trade. And this game was a pretty fast turnaround. Pretty interesting. So this is a matchup where Galvanic Bombardment is going to be great. Definitely want to bring those in. Always Washing is going to do some good work in allowing me to play offense and defense. But I think they are going to be a card that I can take out along with these three Stasis Snares, because I'd rather just have cheaper removal. So I have room for one more card. Could make a solid argument for Skysovereign, Chandra, and Gideon. But I think with the Depala, the 3 Gideons that I have, and the 1 Archangel, I think I already have enough card advantage and enough of an end game to win, so long as I don't die early. And this Blessed Alliance is a card that can help make it so that I don't lose early, but it will also double as a 2-for-1 in some corner case scenarios. So even though I am going to be turning into or pivoting more onto a control role, I don't want to take out too much of my powerful stuff, but I also don't really want to have too much end game. Still gotta make sure I win the early game. And I actually don't even think it would be crazy to take out the Smuggler's Copters, because they're a card that it's like sometimes hard to play defense with them. But they're one of my better answers for my opponent's Smuggler's Copter, and they're also just kind of an awesome card. So I think I'm going to end up keeping them in. Fragmentize actually has a fair amount of utility in this matchup too. There's Bomat Couriers, there's Smuggler's Copters. It might be a mistake not to have them. Yeah, I mean, I could probably just go with all the 1-mana removal that I can. Yeah, we'll roll with this. So the Fragmentizes are a little on the risky side, because they... Actually, I probably could have trimmed these Toolcraft Exemplars. They're only good on offense. Yeah, actually, I think I sideboarded wrong. I think I should have looked at my threat base a little bit more. I think I'll give myself an opportunity to get lucky and draw another untapped thing. Oh, he's got the 1/2 against my 1/1. Oh, man. Even though I'm on the draw, because I had a 1-drop, and my opponent had kind of a weak first 2 turns of his game, this might be a game where I can actually get aggressive. Oh, that's going to be brutal. That's real bad for me. LOL. Well, I guess I'll play Depala and hope she doesn't die, so that all my dwarves don't die. What? It has reach? Oh, no! Oh, God. Why does that have reach? Oh, that's real bad. So this is going to be a perfect opportunity. If my opponent has an answer for this Depala, he's going to be able to kill the Depala. The Weaver of Lightning is going to get a trigger that's going to be able to kill my Toolcraft Exemplar, because it's going to go back to being a 1/1 once my Depala dies. So huge punts. All right, Chandras are in for sure. And yeah, we've got some heavy sideboarding to do here. I'm just going to play out my stuff and hope for a miracle that it's good enough. Oh my god, why does that creature have reach? Crazy. So Gideon's actually really good here. And I think I'm going to be going with an emblem. Because that'll help make the Weaver of Lightning a lot worse. And it'll mean my Toolcraft Exemplars can actually punch through this Weaver of Lightning, which is fairly important. Now, if my opponent has something like a Fiery Temper, this is still going to go badly for me, but Fiery Temper is going to be bad basically no matter what. If there's a block here and there's a Fiery Temper, it's going to be pretty annoying. Does he have it? Nope, just a Pia Nalaar. So that was actually pretty good for me. Oh, I forgot to play my land. Man, I'm falling apart, guys. Can't believe that Weaver of Lightning has reach. Unbelievable. I got to draw something good. So Galvanic Bombardment isn't bad. It's not really good either. Wow, my opponent has a stop during my draw step. That's kind of interesting. I hadn't noticed that before. So this emblem will help me outclass my opponent's creatures, but I'm still going to need to balance out against this Weaver of Lightning, which, quite frankly, put my opponent really far ahead. So I think that I want to attack. I could try to run a double block on the Weaver of Lightning, but then one removal spell's kind of a blowout. I could also consider just saving the Thopter to block the Copter and then Galvanic Blasting it. That would also be a completely sensible line of play. But I have a lot of answers for the Smuggler's Copter, and all I need is another Galvanic Blast to 1-for-1 it, so... Oh man, brutal. Wow, what a great turn for my opponent. So the other thing about attacking with the Thopter is I felt like if my opponent wanted to, he'd be able to get it out of the way anyway. And that is certainly the case. If I kept this Thopter back on guard duty, it wouldn't have done anything. So basically just dead here. Yeah, we're just going to go to the next one. Okay, so we are going to keep a lot of the cards. We can get rid of these Toolcraft Exemplars, I think, and just bring these in. And that will do. Yeah, he's still going to be able to shoot down our Veteran Motorists, but not until we get a Scry. He can still shoot down our Selfless Spirits, but I think the Selfless Spirits are still kind of important. Because we are a Smuggler's Copter deck, we don't want to go down on creatures too much. Probably trim one Copter. Because it, I don't actually want to draw more than one. Part of my argument for having them is just as a good answer against the opposing Smuggler's Copter, but it seems like another Harness Lightning is probably going to do that job better. So we'll run it like this. And this is a nice hand. If our opponent has a Lightning Weaver, we are certainly going to be in trouble, but we can use this Veteran Motorist to potentially find an answer. Because we're on the play, a Smuggler's Copter might be better than this Blessed Alliance. Play our basic mountain first. Put the Fear of Galvanic Blast in him, or Galvanic Bombardment. Wow, both of these are great. Unfortunately, we only have one red mana. So, because we're going to be able to get another Scry soon, well, actually, with the way we're probably going to do this, we're probably going to play Selfless Spirit and Galvanic Bombardment on our following turn. And then that would mean we're drawing the Chandra without access to any red mana. So I think I'm actually going to put the Chandra. I guess I want to keep the Chandra because it's my only answer to a Lightning Weaver. Or Weaver of Lightning. But I do want to draw the Galvanic Bombardment first. So if I haven't drawn a red source by the time I'm ready to play this other Veteran Motorist, then I can consider it as something that I try to scry to. Oh, man. So I might just choose to 2-for-1 myself. So I can attack it and then Galvanic Bombardment it, which would be a 2-for-1. Because I have the Selfless Spirit in play, my opponent casts a spell to kill the Selfless Spirit. I can sacrifice it to give the Veteran Motorist indestructible. So he's not going to be able to get Veteran or Weaver of Lightning. He's not going to be able to get any value off of it from the first removal spell. So considering we have this Blessed Alliance and Galvanic Bombardment, I think there's a very real chance we get a Chandra to run away with the game, but maybe not the first one, similar to what we saw in Game 1. And this time I will not attack into that Weaver of Lightning. Wow, Kalitas. Okay, well that's probably going to be the thing that I need to kill first. With Chandra. Opponent's in full-on control mode. Now if my opponent has like a 5th land, a Kalitas, and a Galvanic Bombardment, things could start to get a little ugly. But considering I'm going to have this Galvanic Bombardment in my hand and Blessed Alliance, I'm already ahead on the board. And I have another Chandra on top, means that there's a really good chance I'm going to be able to run away with this game using a Planeswalker. And this is pretty well done by my opponent. So he's going to be able to finish off my Chandra, and he can shoot down my Veteran Motorist. So he's going to get the 2-for-1. There's nothing I can really do about it. If my opponent has another sorcery speed or a piece of sorcery speed removal, yeah, I'll sacrifice this in response. I get to keep the bigger creature, and if my opponent has another sorcery speed thing, then it won't be able to kill this Veteran Motorist. And that's good. Oh. So that's going to be able to take care of my next Chandra, unfortunately. If I had more mana, I may be able to play this Chandra in a way that she wouldn't die. Actually, I guess there's a good chance that she won't die. My opponent only has 1 card in his hand. I think if I +1 here, it'll be at 6. Or no, 5. It's a little dicey. But I think I'm going to go for it. My opponent's going to get an attack, but he's kind of out of gas. I'm opening myself up to a potential, blowout. Like if my opponent has something like Incendiary Flow, it'd be pretty bad. I think if my opponent had that, he would have done it pre-combat. But while I'm making myself vulnerable to certain things, I am also making myself strong against certain things. So do I kill the Weaver of Lightning here? I think I'm just going to plus. If I minus, I'm kind of just treading water. That's pretty good. I'll play that. Now my opponent has multiple things to deal with. And I think I want to get an attack in with this. It really doesn't do anything on defense. And I think there's a good chance that it just dies. So now with 2 Planeswalkers on the battlefield, it's going to be a little trickier for my opponent. Unfortunately, this Copter is going to be doing some really good work and playing guard duty for the Smuggler's Copter against Blessed Alliance. And my opponent will be incentivized to attack with both of them. And this seems like a setup for Fiery Temper. They are both at the Chandra. So I'll be able to save my Chandra to get another redraw. But I'm kind of in a rough situation here. Really use something good. Did not expect my opponent to have Kalitas. Kalitas, however you want to say it. I don't think making an emblem here does me any good. But, well, there's certainly a lot of good things that would happen from an emblem. But not quite ready for it. An emblem would mean my Veteran Motorist would be big enough to trade with the Kalitas. Weaver of Lightning wouldn't be able to shoot down future X1s. So there's certainly a lot of perks of the Gideon emblem. Hopefully I can do it next turn. And I assume that this is going to go poorly, but I mean, honestly, what other choice do I have? Really, my only way to win is by trying to kill this Kalitas. And an emblem certainly wouldn't have been of service there. So this is definitely going on the bottom. This unfortunately doesn't really do anything worthwhile here. It can potentially trade with the... I mean, I guess I keep it. And since I know my Gideon is going to die and there's nothing I can do about it, I think an emblem is worth more than a random 2/2. Not interested in blocking any of these. Oh, not going to be able to block any of these. Brutal. All right, this is for sure over. Unfortunately. Kill the one thing that I can kill. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11. So I'm technically not dead yet. I'm basically dead. I don't know what I could even dream of drawing. I might have mismanaged my Chandra. Oh, now I'm dead. All right, good game. On to the next one.